Everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this little guy right here. This is the SOG Salute Mini. Very, very interesting little knife, and I want to thank very much my buddy Fred for sending this little guy along and donating it to the channel. That was a very kind thing of him to do. Let's do a quick size comparison here. We've got ourselves a Spyderco Delica, so you can see blade length is a little bit longer than your Delica. Ontario Rat number 1, and of course your Ontario Rat number 2, and what the heck, Spyderco PM2, which actually has about the same blade length on that. So there you go. And let's go on ahead and just jump into the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of your SOG Salute Mini here. Okay, so on the good side, and by the way, sorry about the glove, little eczema, figured I'd hide that, little bit of ugly. Anyways, on the good side, first off, the knife is actually pretty solidly built. You have on this little guy a back lock here, and back locks tend to be very strong, very solid, and this is no exception. This is 100% solid. You're not really going to injure this knife. It's not at risk of failing. It's not janky in any particular way. This is a solid little knife, and so that's good. Next thing, this knife is very well textured. I mean, you can see that this knife is very heavily textured. You got texturing here, you got the G10 being textured here, you've got the clip on here with texturing, you got texturing text. I mean, this has been very, very heavily visited by the texturing fairy. And so I appreciate that very much. Next thing, the blade shape on this guy is actually a nice, useful shape. You got some flat area, you got some belly, works out. Next thing, this is not a serrated blade. A lot of budget blades, particularly from multi-tool manufacturers, tend to come in half serration or something like that. This guy is a plain edge blade, and I appreciate that very much. That's good. Next thing, the price point on this guy is pretty solid. You're looking at $25 here, and that's a pretty low price point. That's competitive with a lot of other things, so that's good. The clip on this guy is tip up carry, which I appreciate very much, and it's actually you can see here, it's sort of neat in that you've got this little guy back here, and so if you want to swap the clip, you just unscrew this and then push the clip into there and then screw that in. It's a nice little approach to making your clip ambidextrous without big ugly holes on the other side there. And then actually the last thing to mention on the good side is that this knife is 100% fully ambidextrous because it's a back lock, which means there is no handedness to it. The studs are on both sides, which is no problem. And because the clip can be flipped, this is a rare knife that is just as good for lefties as it is for righties. And so I gotta say, that's very nice. And so that, to me, is the good here. It's fully ambidextrous. It's got a nice tip-up clip that flips to either side. It's at a fairly competitive price point here at $25. The lock bar tension is nicely done. Did I mention that one? I might have forgotten that one. But either way, you press it in, it's nicely done. It's not serrated. The blade shape can be useful. It's well textured overall, and it's a pretty solid lockup, pretty solid knife. Let's talk about what's great here. Okay, to me, what's great about this knife is the fact that the thumb stud is actually adjustable. What I mean by that is that if you put a little flathead screw in here and then unscrew, you can actually loosen the thumb stud. And then when the thumb stud's loosened, you can move it back and forth within this little groove here to the optimal position for your hand, and then that way you lock it back down, maybe use a little Loctite or something, and you are good to go. The thumb stud's in great positioning, and it's custom to whatever you want. Now, okay, I know some of you think, but Nick, that's a gimmick. Yeah, absolutely, it's a freaking gimmick. But the thing is, it's an interesting idea. I've not seen this before, and although it's not crucial, I mean, clearly most knives don't feature that kind of thing, it's something that it's fun to see people playing around, and especially in this space where it's like a $25 knife from a multi-tool company. It's very easy for them to make something that is vanilla with, and so you know what, I gotta support the fact that even if this is a solution in search of a problem, they're trying something new and different. And so I guess to me, maybe that's really what's great here, is that they're trying to be a little bit different here, even in a relatively inexpensive knife. Let's talk about what's bad. So look, on the bad side, first off, unfortunately, they did miss the sharpening choil here. You can see here that the sharpening choil doesn't extend quite far enough, and so you get a little bit of a smile where they sharpen the blade up onto there. Not the end of any worlds, but a little frustrating, because that's something you can get right, still being cheap. Next thing, it is unfortunately a little bit thick behind the edge, which means it's going to be a little more durable, but it's not going to be a great slicer. I mean, it's okay, I guess, but could definitely use some help. The steel on this guy is 8CR13 MOV. AOV, which is either barely adequate or barely inadequate for everyday carry. It's fine if you're just cutting apples every so often, but it's not a high-performing steel by any stretch. $25, I'm okay with it, I guess, but it's still something to keep in mind. One thing I'm not okay with, though, with the ergonomics on this knife, they're just not great. Unfortunately, there were a lot of little hot spots on this guy, whether it's from the texturing, from the clip sticking up here. Just bearing down on this knife is not comfortable at all. I mean, you can damn near see SOG imprinted into my hand on this. This little idea, and particularly the fact that SOG sticks up above the rest of the clip here, not a brilliant plan. And so overall, ergonomically speaking, this just isn't a stellar knife and doesn't feel so great in the hand. And so to me, that's certainly bad. And that is in fact the bad, that the ergonomics are just not really good with a lot of hot spots going on. The steel isn't great. It's pretty thick behind the edge, and they missed the sharpening choil. Let's talk about what's ugly here. So on the ugly side, first off, something that's so bad that it's almost comical is they have printed the name and logo of this company in no fewer than 4 places on this knife. You've got it right here, then you've got it again in the G10 here, then again in the G10 on the other side there, and then they've put it on the clip, and they've done it in the most large and obnoxious way possible, so that every day that you're walking around, you're going to see a big old freaking advertisement that whatever's in your pocket is by SOG. And the thing is, given the quality troubles SOG has had lately, that's not something I'd want to be bragging about. And so, honestly, it's really ugly that they have slathered their brand on there in just this incredibly cloying way. No, guys, seriously, do not brag about this. Just put your logo on the blade and we'll call it a day, okay? So that's unfortunate. The other issue, and a much more substantial issue, is that the action of this knife is very, very rough. Backlock knives tend to be, well, they're not stellar in terms of the action. They're never going to be a drop shot sort of thing, but there is a degree of smoothness as the backlock slides along the back of the blade tang there. On this guy, though, it is very stick slippy. It's very rough. I mean, even though I have cleaned this guy out, I have personally put this back together, and even though it's well lubricated and oiled, the whole knife feels very gritty. You can't hear it, but you can absolutely feel it. The action on this is very, very rough. It's not going to affect the usability of it. The lockup is fine, but that's just a really ugly feeling to have, and especially when on a backlock, it doesn't need to be that bad. So I really, that's something that made it clear that they didn't really give a damn as they were making that, and that's really unfortunate. And so for me, those are the ugly things, is that the action feels weirdly rough. I've never had a backlock this rough, and then they put their brand name on it like 18 times, including this cloyingly ugly clip. So there you go. Let's jump into the final conclusions here. So look, I mean, final conclusion, in some ways this guy has bested my very, very low expectations. The reason I say that is that knives made by tool companies do not tend to be very good, and, you know, especially budget ones, but this is actually not so bad. In the grand scheme of budget knives by tool companies, this is pretty okay. It cuts things, it's got a reasonable blade shape, it locks solidly, and it appears safe. It's ambidextrous, it even has a fun trick with moving the thumb stud. I mean, at that level, it's okay, I guess. It's got some serious flaws. I mean, in the action, in the steel, the ergonomics particularly, and then the branding is just stupid. But it is an acceptable tool that I think will serve you fine for basic needs, and it's not a terrible beater knife. So if you can get like a super deal on one of these, then sure, okay, yeah, it's fine. But it's also not really a knife I would ever recommend, that I would go out of my way to say, you need to get a SOG Salute Mini. Because in this same price range, you can get knives that are really incredible, like the Rat 2. By Ontario Knife and Tool, the Kershaw, oh so sweet. You can get, there are all kinds of other knives out there which I will not only like more, but which I can really super enthusiastically recommend. The Kershaw Cryo, too, is in similar price points. And so, those are great knives, and this is okay. And I mean, heck, if you want to buy an inexpensive Chinese knife, there are all kinds of companies out there that are doing this now, like Rake, which is R-U-I-K-E, and that are doing some very interesting stuff for similar price points where you get a lot more performance for your dollar. So, you know, I don't know. It's okay, I guess. It's okay-ish. And there's a lot to love about the Salute Mini here. There's also a lot not to love. And so I guess at the end of the day, I'm afraid I just can't give this guy a particularly enthusiastic salute. That's right. I knew how to pronounce it all along. Anyways, hope this has been interesting to you, that you get a really, really good deal on this if you're going to get one. Mostly that you have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.